Question. Welcome to hell. There's no one to save you now.
What's up, everybody? This is Keya from the Majesty channel on YouTube, and you are listening to the Devil's Den podcast, the show that discusses books, poetry, movies, and facts in the genres of horror, paranormal, and true crime genres for folks who love dark, mysterious, and terrifying content. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Playground of Horror series on the Devil's Den podcast. I am your host, Keya Reed, and tonight we will be discussing the dark truths about The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid was originally written by Hans Christian Andersen after the marriage of his close friend Edvard Cullen, whom he had fallen in love with. But unfortunately, those feelings his friend didn't have for him. Andersen often wrote themes of unrequited love, but he never married. Despite falling in love numerous times, The Little Mermaid was written after the marriage of his close friend. Andersen wrote love letters to Edvard containing sentiments such as, "I long for you. Yes, this moment I long for you, as if you were a lovely girl. My sentiments for you are those of a woman. The femininity of my nature and our friendship must remain a mystery." The fact that Edvard didn't reciprocate those feelings was a cause of great distress for the author. This led on to Andersen's greatest story that he ever wrote, and here it is, the dark origin of The Little Mermaid. In the original version, the mermaid falls in love with the prince and makes a deal with the sea witch to become human in exchange for her voice. If the prince falls in love with her and they marry, she will gain a soul and live happily ever after. However, if he marries someone else, she will turn into sea foam and cease to exist. The prince does not recognize the mermaid as the one who saved him from drowning, and instead falls in love with another woman. The mermaid's heart breaks, but instead of turning into sea foam, she is given a chance to redeem herself by killing the prince and returning to her mermaid form. In the end, the mermaid chooses to sacrifice herself and turn into sea foam rather than harm the prince. The original tale explores themes of unrequited love, sacrifice, and the harsh realities of the world. Its dark endings is a stark contrast to the happily ever after we are used to seeing in fairy tales, and what we've notably seen in Disney's movie, The Little Mermaid. It is important to remember that many classic fairy tales have origins that are much darker than their modern adaptations. The Little Mermaid is just one example of how stories can evolve over time. Thank you for listening. Thanks again for listening to the Devil's Den podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at Wicked Majesty and also on Facebook, Wicked Majesty. Thanks again, and I will see you next time. Sleep tight and don't let the shadows fight.